Are you doing your part, Helldiver? Real patriots never stop trying to improve. So here's 10 tips for Helldivers 2 in under 10 minutes. Wow, there's gonna be a lot more than 10 tips. I can't help myself. But to efficiently inform you, I'm gonna break them down into 10 sections. If you learn something new or this video just brightens your day, go ahead and liberate that like button to spread managed democracy across the universe. However, to get 10 tips in under 10 minutes, we've gotta be quick about it. So let's dive right on into it. Starting with tip number 1. This tip is a correction on an old tip of mine. I had previously stated that eagles can't be used to close bug holes, so that was a lie. You can close bug holes with a 500 kilogram bomb easily, and if an airstrike comes in on the same side that the hole is facing, you can close them this way too. However, this here's the real deal. Using the right tool for the job is critical. Closing these holes as soon as possible needs to be a priority, because getting pinned down in an endless horde of bugs that you need to fight through to stop is how you run out of time or lose all of your life. Don't get fancy, use those better tools for your job. Autocannons and grenade launchers are a much faster option. And shout out to Little Lord Tam, who commented that you can destroy manufactories with the autocannon. If you hit the top of the vent, you can deflect that bullet down inside and blow them up. But that was a lot of information for tip number 1, so we gotta speed on into tip number 2. Have you found yourself playing a Matador with a charger recently? It's not that hard, but can you juggle 2 or even 3 of them at a time? We all know that the orbital railgun can obliterate these buggers, but now you still got 2 more to deal with. This tip will help you take them down quicker and dodge them with a tap of a button. No, it's not diving. I don't want to get my cape dirty. And this here's the real deal. So don't underestimate that jump pack. This stratagem gives you the amazing ability to jump, and jumping over these bugs after they've begun their charging animation is the easiest way to avoid them and quickly turn around to have the maximum amount of time to blow their butts off. Remember, Helldiver, the only good bug is a dead one. And I'm obligated to mention the rule of cool because it is very fun. These jump packs are so much fun, and you feel so much slower and vulnerable without one, because you have the ability to reload while you're jumping, which lets you get out of a sticky situation where you're all out of ammo and completely surrounded. Or you're completely surrounded and you see your friend who really likes the grenade launcher looking at the area like it would be very fun to blow everything up. Jumping out of there is the best thing you can do for yourself. But now let's jump on into tip number 3. Who needs more samples? Yeah, we all do. By now, you've figured out that looking at points of interest is an easy way to find them. And you probably even know that this large phallic rock holds the rarest samples in the game. But I think I know of a place that you haven't looked, because everything in the game is destroyable. You've definitely noticed that by now. And if you ever come across a crate that's dug into the ground, you can blow the doors off their hinges and get at all the goodies inside. If you have any good tips about finding these samples, I'd love to know them in the comments down below, because I need so many more of them to upgrade my ship. But that was a quick tip, which is good because we're gonna take a lot of time on this next one. Tip number 4. So if you haven't heard by now, the bugs and the bots secretly have one mastermind leading them from behind the scenes. Our arch nemesis, Joel. That's right, this game has a game master. His job is to keep the game interesting and to engage all of us by introducing new threats into the universe. Now, an interesting way that he does this is each invasion event is slightly different. Not only do the planets that you go on have different environmental effects, but the forces you face will be slightly different. The bugs have a ton of variants, which makes interesting combinations of how the different units act together. The most recent invasion event in the Orion system on the planet of Veld has a ton of these little grasshopper bugs that are so annoying because they can strike at you from a far distance. And while at first they might not seem threatening, when you're dealing with something much larger like a charger or a titan, they sneak up on you. So my tip for you is to make sure you are aware of the forces that are on the planet that you are fighting to be better prepared to face them, which ties in nicely with tip number 5. Now that you know what you're up against, it's time to pick the right tool for the job. I've seen this post going around that's talking about a meta build that requires you to take a shield generator and a railgun. I'm here to tell you that's not meta. Different missions require different stratagems, and different enemies require different weapons. You're not going to use a hammer to drive a screw into your drywall, and that's not even touching the toxicity of just kicking people because you're angry. We need more Helldivers to defeat the bots and bugs, so don't hate on anybody for just doing their part. Elimination missions are much more like tower defense games. Turrets do an amazing job of destroying the enemies of freedom, and sweet liberty, do not bomb civilians during extract missions. The amount of times I've failed these missions because someone has killed the exact amount of civilians that we need to win is ridiculous. That's not even to mention the fact that you lose requisition slips, save stratagems that do mass destruction for missions that you need to do a massive amount of destruction. However, a massive amount of destruction is what tip number 6 is all about. Don't sleep on the spear. I understand it can be incredibly difficult to get that lock on the target that you need to lock on. The distance is so hard to measure if you're inexperienced with it, but being able to one-shot a Hulk is a beautiful thing, as well as the fact that you can lock onto buildings and eliminate them very fast. For those reasons, I definitely suggest taking this weapon on harder difficulties, but only if you know what you're doing. And who's ever carrying the spear should also carry the backpack for it, because creating a weapons team out of this doesn't have much of an impact because it is to be used sparingly, but I don't have a lot of time to spare to get to that 10th tip in under 10 minutes, so let's rush on into tip number 7. You ever come across a situation that you have no clue how you're gonna get out of? If you did your part in Malevolent Creek, you know exactly how this feels. You've used all of your grenades, all of the ammunition for your primary and secondary weapons, and your heavy weapon isn't quite what you need to defeat the hordes of bots pouring down on you. Well, Helldiver, you've forgotten your most important gift as a human being, because you can use your fists to beat freedom into those tin cans. Don't forget to use them. They're not the best, but by all that is good in our way of life, they do their part when they need to. But now it's time for tip number 8. Let's kick it up a notch here with the best part of the game, explosions. Who doesn't want more explosions? I'll tell you, people who hate democracy. If you're one of those freedom-hating bums, this tip isn't for you. But if you're a real patriot, go ahead and smash that like button, because more firepower is headed your way. By now, you've realized that there are artillery stations hidden in some missions, and that by turning them back on, you get an additional stratagem. However, how you turn them back on is critical to how effective they will be. Pay attention to the shells that you put in them. You're going to want to avoid any smoke and EMP shells when possible, and more importantly, the order that you put these shells in will be the order in which they are fired. If you want a mini nuke, make sure you put that in first, so you will use it exactly when you intend to. Now it's time to fire on into our next tip, tip number 9. It wasn't that long ago that we were beating the bugs back, but then everything changed when the automatrons attacked. Many of us headed from the eastern front over to the western front of the galaxy and were met with a grim surprise. These bots were nothing like the bugs. They mowed us down and took so many of our planets, but now we've had time to analyze them. In Helldiver, we found their weakness. Their survival protocols take over when they are under fire, so suppressive fire is critical to decrease the enemy's accuracy. You can cover your friends while they retreat over that hill and into cover. But now, Helldiver, it's time to cover tip number 10. First, let me take a second to say, if you enjoy this video and you want to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It means a ton to me and it helps me out on my long climb to 1,000 subscribers. However, tip number 1 is a simple one. Performance enhancing drugs may be prohibited in all sports, Helldiver, but this isn't a game. This is the real deal. Your entire squad is going to want to use boosters if they can. These perks don't affect just you, but the entire party. Stopping bleeding damage is critical on harder difficulties. Having more ammo is a no-brainer, and obviously you want to see where more bugs are with a UAV. I could go on and on, but I don't have the time. Instead, I'm going to wrap it up there, and thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all the things that I'm supposed to say, but mostly I just hope that you have a wonderful day. Here's some more content of mine that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy.